So the point in this video is to create a guide, playbook for anyone that's looking to hire and improve their business through using like freelance animation services. So this might be business owners, marketers, marketing agencies, marketing departments, anyone that's at a stage where they've kind of got one or multiple projects in mind, animation projects, but they don't need to hire a full-time animator in-house. That is something I'm going to make another video on, but the purpose of this video is to focus on the do's and don'ts of hiring a freelance animator on like a project basis. I'm going to go through the options that are available for finding great talent and how to weigh up what's important to the business. I'm going to look at articulating exactly what you want, and we will look at how to get the most from the animator or the agency, whoever you try to or decide to use, and I will look or give some advice on how to set up payment plans or get the most from your budget, basically. First thing to note, really important, is that there's not, animation is like such a broad term. So you can have 2D animation, you've got 3D animation, stop motion animation, and even within these skills within animation, different industries use different styles, and there's lots of different ways you can use that animation. So UI animation, you can have character animation, you can have monochrome, abstract. So it's really important, I know it sounds obvious, to find references and also to articulate what it is that you or your business likes about those references before reaching out to animators or agencies. A really good place to look for references, Vimeo, YouTube, and social media. That's the majority of it, to be honest. A lot more agencies use Vimeo. A lot of big brands upload their content to YouTube. So yeah, I often collate links for work I found in an Excel spreadsheet, and I make notes about what it is about that video I like. I timestamp at 33 seconds, love the use of typography, but prefer the colors from this other video, and then a link to it. That's a really good way of giving clear instructions to anyone that you're looking to work with. Also, by going through that process, you'll start to be able to articulate what it is you're after, and it'll help with finding an animator. So if it's a 3D software animation, you might go to Google and type that, or if you're using an intermediary platform, inside it's short 2D abstract animation, again, using that correct terminology. Which brings me on nicely to hiring an animator and the different options that are available for hiring animation services. And there are three that I'm kind of most aware of. Firstly, intermediary platforms like Upwork, like Fiverr, like Freelancer. And I suppose within this, there's advantages and disadvantages to both. I'm a big fan of Upwork. I use it a lot, or I started freelancing on Upwork. I think the level of work and the quality is better as a rule, but there's some decisions to be made in terms of what you're looking for. If you're looking for something really cheap and quick, Fiverr, again, making big generalizations here, could be a better option for you. Your second option is agencies. I think agencies typically have, or people have the view typically, that agencies are more expensive. It's not always the case. Yes, they can be. High-end studio working with big clients is going to be more expensive, of course. Actually, our agency, my fees for freelancing on Upwork are higher than the hourly rate we charge for the agency. The difference is the agency don't take on smaller projects. So again, if you've got larger projects, you're willing to commit to 120 hours of animation per month, not enough for a full-time employee, you might find that the agency is actually a cheaper and more efficient model. Third option, this is using portfolio websites. So you've got websites like Dribbble, Behance, you can use social media. There's a lot of freelance animators out there. This option can be really, really rewarding, and you can create really good connections with skilled freelancers. I suppose what you've got to factor in is that there's a time element. You're going to have to spend considerable time researching, reaching out to people. The other thing that's really important with working with freelancers you find through portfolio websites that aren't actively looking for work is that you have clear processes in place. And like I mentioned earlier, having that very clear creative brief, having your system that they adapt to. One thing you can find here is you can find good talent that potentially is cheaper than other places on the internet, but you've then got an added layer of management, your time, in making sure that process runs efficiently. So 3 options there. There's no right or wrong. Definitely depends on the values, what's most important for your business really. If you need reliable, quick variety of content, I'd say agency. And if you are looking, you're just starting out, you're looking to build longer term relationships, you're looking to keep the cost down, and maybe using those portfolio websites is a good place to start. So that leads me on nicely to section 3, looking back at my notes, and that's how to get the most from the animator's skills. And the one thing I say all the time is the better the brief, the better the output. And I'll cover what should go into that brief quite quickly. I've written down goals, style, target audience, but in addition to that, musical references, visual references, like we mentioned earlier, should all be in that document. And that will stop a lot of back and forth at the start. It will allow the animator to see if they align with the style or the vision that you've got for the project. So don't forget the brief. Getting the most from your budget. This is a really important one, and it's a question I get asked a lot. There's 2 common ways to hire an animator. It's either hourly contracts or a fixed price, and there's no right or wrong in terms of what's cheaper or what's more efficient or what's best. Hourly can have its advantages, but if a project runs on a lot longer and you don't set clear deliverables early, you can exceed your budget. That's the danger. Flip side of that is if you're looking for a fixed cost, you can find that work could be done quicker on an hourly rate if you're not going back and forward loads of times. So I like to work with a hybrid of the both. And one of my suggestions when you're working with new animators, especially looking to hire someone, is to maybe allocate like 20 hours at a fixed hourly rate for a project, and that project might be to conceptualize maybe 3 ideas, maybe it's like 3 logos or 3 bits of social media content, and use that hourly rate. Then once you've attributed the style and you've worked out how quickly the designer works, flip to a fixed rate model. So you might say it's $1,000 for this deliverable, and that deliverable includes 2 sets of revisions. You shouldn't really need 2 sets of revisions, 1 or 2 if you're planning and you're communicating correctly. If you do need further revisions, pre-agree a set amount. So if it's the $1,000 video, it's per extra, you've got 2 revisions included in that. Per extra revision, it's an extra $200. So you're upfront and you've got really clear deliverables. That's worked really well for my business, and I think that's a really good way for you to operate. Bonus tip, written down bonus tip. Focus, this is really important. Focus on the efficiency of the workflow process. And what I mean by that is using collaborative feedback tools. So another big inefficiency or something you should be looking for when you're hiring someone is using software like Figma. If you're part of a team and your team will giving feedback, make sure that the software is collaborative. So what I mean by that is multiple people can leave comments, and the designer or the animator is not re-exporting or resending things. And that's the same when you get to the animation stage. So a really good software, I've mentioned it in other videos, is Frame.io. It allows for comments on the video to automatically be timestamped. You can annotate with drawings. Multiple members of your team can use that. And once all that feedback's been kind of collated, then the next stage of revisions can take place. So to conclude, hopefully that's helpful. We've summed up the do's and don'ts. The kind of 5 key points I wanted to hit were: references are essential. Decide whether time or responsiveness is more important to you, or cost is more important to you as a business, and then choose how you hire based on that decision. create clear instructions and a creative brief. I know it sounds obvious, but it's not always the case. So nicely laid out brief, really good instructions. Be precise about delivery dates and the process. That should come from the animator anyway, but if not, you have to lead there. Request collaborative software like Figma, Frame.io is used. This will ensure the workflow process is much smoother. Yeah, again, I hope this has been helpful. I hope it's given you a better understanding of how to hire an animator. I'm actually looking to make a few more videos. I'm considering making one a bit more of a detailed breakdown on the freelance platforms like Upwork, Freelancer and Fiverr, which I've had experience with, as well as a more detailed video on creative briefs, good ones that I've worked with, not so good ones. So yeah, if that is going to be helpful to you, make sure to leave a comment in the section below and I will get that actioned. Hopefully it's helpful. Again, thanks.